Hello, I'm Nevalon and this is Dofus Newbie channel. Today I wanted to share my suggestions of how you could possibly start to play the game and not get repulsed too quickly. Since I'm pretty fresh player comparing to many veterans in the game, I wanted to also include my personal experience of the way it looked like for me and what possibly made me remain playing Dofus. But I wanted to be as detailed as possible and not miss anything at all. I'll try to at least. This video is really important for me because I've seen many other players struggling just like me when I started my journey with Dofus, in the current state that it is. So let's dive into it. So what is Dofus for those that are not familiar with the game? Dofus is a turn-based MMORPG that was released back in 2004 by Anomaly. Dofus is pay-to-play type of a game that requires a subscription in order to unlock majority of the content. But don't worry too much, because it's also possible to buy it with an in-game currency called Kamas. And as a free-to-play player, you can also try a small amount of the content in the game. Let me tell you a few uncommon ways that I've never seen in any other game but Dofus. For example, for the game currency, people use letter K always at the end when referring to less than 1000 Kamas. Then they write double K when they refer to 1000 Kamas. And at last they write MK when they mean million Kamas. Very often people say that they are not PvEing, but they are PvMing. In case of maging professions that will be later mentioned, they also say that specific stat is overmaged if the stat was already in the item but now is above the base amount range. In case when stat isn't in base version of the item but was added while maging, they call it EXO. Another thing is CC that in other languages I know is also known as CAC. Don't mistake it with what you think it might be, okay? CC stands in game for close combat. Before I thought it stays for crowd control, as in many games I played before, so I was like thinking about like MP reduction, AP reduction and such, but no, it's close combat. Well, these are the ones that comes to my mind right now. If there is something else that I could have mentioned, then let me know in the comments. Maybe I might have forgotten something, I don't know. Let's start with the server selection. We have few servers that we can choose. One of them is single account server, which means you can't play more accounts on one device than just one. I'm not sure if it's IP related too. The rest of the servers allowing you to run as many accounts as you want. So what are the differences? As for the amount of accounts that you can run, I would say that most likely it just affects the economy of the server due to the fact that people that play more than one account will grind more resources and also sell them on the market. I think that's literally it. I don't know any other reason why you should reconsider the server selection, except of this one. There is many players on multi-account servers that still play on one account, just like me. I used to try playing on 4 accounts, but I didn't like it. Eventually I had a dual account for questing, but now I'm sticking back to just one account because I simply don't enjoy running multiple characters in this particular game. As for the language barrier on each server, you probably already noticed that most servers are French. This is language that speaks majority of the community. Then you have international server, that is Talkasha, where you most likely want to play if you're an English speaker or just Spanish. As for the Dragoneers, there is a single account server. I think majority of the people also speak French and it's hard to find people that speaks English, but I didn't fully verify it. After you select the server, you just need to create your character. If you want to get more suggestions about which class is possibly good to play, then check out my video where in short way I described every class in the game and share the good and bad aspects of them. Now, one thing that I definitely almost forgot to write in my script is that every new lower level character on the account will receive XP bonus that can be increased up to 4, depending on how many characters was created before. So let's say you created third character on your account and your second character is like level 120. Your new character will have a boost of XP times 3, but if you get 121 level on it, then the boost will decrease to times 2, and your character that was 120 level will now have the times 3 boost. I hope I didn't make it sound too confusing. Once you choose your class, you will start a tutorial. Now yes, you can skip it, but I would recommend doing it, at least the combat part. It's really short and teaches you basic mechanics. You will learn how the combat works, crafting, gathering, and also receive a beginner set. Just don't forget to wear a hat after fighting that gobble.
Nice.
After you are done with it, you will receive a bunch of keys. Those can be used to open majority of the dungeons in the game. The bunch of keys refreshes every week after the maintenance. That happens at Tuesday around 8 AM in the morning Dofus time or Central Europe time. Those keys won't work only in wave dungeons such as Wukin and Wukan or Dimension dungeons. Let's talk about managing to build your character's strength. After each level up, you will receive 5 characteristic points that you can spend on a certain statistic. You have Vitality, that is increasing your maximum HP, Wisdom, that is increasing your parry or reduction statistic and also your XP received, and 4 elemental characteristics that increase your damage for specific abilities and also additional statistics depending on what you're gonna add your points to. You can also reset these points whenever you want, and even create ensembles that you can switch before you begin the fight. As for the spells, you unlock them after a specific level. Each class has 22 unique spells and each of them has its variant. There are also special or neutral spells, whatever you wanna call them, that you can unlock by certain activities or by just getting a specific scroll and activating it on the character. I won't cover each one in this video, but possibly will do it in the future. Every spell is described shortly with the AP cost required to cast it, how many times you can use it per turn on the same target, its base critical chance, its range, if it's modifiable by the range statistic, max effect accumulation, whether it's limited to being just a straight line or diagonal spell, if the spell does not require a line of sight, or with information of how many turns it takes to recast it, or when it becomes available after the fight started. There's also a small description of a spell written in orange, but sometimes I feel like it doesn't fully describe many spells. But it's still worth reading it, so really, for the certain characters it's really worth reading it. Before we get into what to possibly do as a new player, let me tell you what I wouldn't recommend. When I started playing, I got such an advices like, oh, go PvP, it's a lot of kamas. Oh, you should run a team, it's a lot of kamas, you will have fun with it. Oh, you should get leeched. Oh, you should suck my fucking dick because it's a lot of kamas investment. I think these were one of the worst ideas that were recommended to me as a beginner, misleading me to how I should play the game while having completely nothing. Now, yes, some of these aspects are totally doable and definitely many people enjoy and benefit from it, but it needs a lot of time and effort to get to that point in the first place. My point is to tell you my suggestions of what you could do to take it slow and step by step to get to the point where you can allow yourself to do more. I would sometimes get an expression that these people that's been playing this game for like over 10 years at least, with just small breaks in between, forgot that the road to their state of experience and gear had to start from the bottom. What to do in the Dofus then? With all this information, you probably already ask yourself how to play the game in order to not repulse yourself. Let's try to discuss some aspects one by one. Questing is one option, but let me tell you, I'm an absolute hater of this part of the game. I sound really encouraging, am I not? Hear me out first though. Questing is absolutely terribly designed in terms of clarification on where to go or what to do. Often it feels like solving a puzzle for hours by simply figuring out where to be, and sometimes in really specific spots, like this behind the rock, which might repulse the player from playing the game because they simply can't progress. How to overcome it then? You possibly want to prepare yourself for something that I call Wikipedia gameplay. I'll talk more about it later. But is it necessary to quest in this game? Of course not. I would say though that definitely if you're a new player, I think most of the Incarnum quests you shouldn't struggle with. Also as a newbie, you can later approach questing for your first little Dofus that is really helpful called Silver Dofus. But this is where a wiki might be necessary. Usually questing is just for the people that are not bothered with the fact that majority of the time they will have to check on website what to do in the next steps. Or for those that simply want to get Dofuses without spending a lot of kamas on them. And as for questing for Dofuses, I would mostly suggest you approaching them at the end game. You will do fine without them in the early state. The only one that you might eventually consider to quest are simple Dofuses such as mentioned before Silver Dofus, and the other ones are Coward Dofus for the wisdom and Dokoko for the HP recovery. These questlines are not too complicated and they will definitely come handy in the early game. Fighting regular groups of mobs sounds like a chiller of an idea, doesn't it? Definitely though, it can be monotonous, especially due to how you first engage yourself in the fight in this game. One thing worth noticing is experience that you can get from each group. On map, usually you can see 3 types of group mobs. Small, which contains 1 or 2 mobs, medium that contains 3 or 4 mobs, and big group that contains from 5 to 8 mobs. If you play just a single character, then it's enough if you hit small group for their experience. If you play in a team, then depending on how big your group is, you can hit bigger ones and you will receive more XP, but the fights might take longer. Number of mobs also can increase number of loot each character can receive for each mobs they fought. Each player can receive same amount of resources depending on base loot drop percentage and prospecting stat that increases chance of dropping the items. So for sure, if you are a solo player, you don't need to fight big group of mobs. This might slow you down more, then let you benefit more in experience. However, if you simply want to grind resources, then it's a different story and you can definitely hit bigger groups if you want. Let's not forget also these tools that are these little icons above the minimap. Those can be used by a certain shortcut that can be changed in the game settings. This way you can see what arena looks like, and also if any player finishes the fight on the map, the arena usually will change if it's not a quest map. You can also view all the groups on the map and the NPCs there. Another one is searching for interactive things such as caves or interactive resources that you can gather. And the last one is spectating a fight that is happening on the specific map. Now, if you go to Kanye Massive, to this specific spot, you can spectate their PvP fights that are happening right now in Colosseum. Now, here I might sound like a hypocrite. I said before that you shouldn't as a beginner play a team, right? Well, here's one exception. The free-to-play, as I said before, is up to level 60 that contains area marked on the screen. Also, markets in R-Strip can sell the items that are up to level 60. So until then, you can possibly make a team of 4 different classes, or more if you want, and play them all at once. This will not only help you finishing in the dungeons and getting a lot of resources from the achievements, but also might help you deciding which class you like the most. Now obviously the low level classes won't work the same way as mid or high level ones, but it can maybe help you get some feeling on them. Your team also won't need more than just a Peewee set. Just farm the Astro Peewees in order to get the specific parts of the set for the element that you want to play on each class and explore what is available for you for now. Until level 60 you can easily run in these sets and you can save your money. Speaking about achievements, let's talk about them more. Achievements can reward you in experience, kamas, titles, resources, and dofuses. They also give you a specific amount of achievement points that is most likely just to flex. Mainly you wanna focus on the dungeon and the monster achievements. Monster achievements require you to kill the mobs and also succeed at least one challenge in the fight. So basically that green one challenge. In certain cases, one mob will be in a specific dungeon of the area. If you want success in doing the challenge while fighting the specific mob, it won't count for an achievement. As for the dungeon achievements, keep in mind you don't need to do them all at once. I used to do that. Remember what I told you about bunch of keys few minutes ago? You can always return to these achievements no matter what level you are. Especially in high level dungeons, sometimes you will even skip doing them and just aim to finish the dungeon itself. So take it easy with them. Whichever you're gonna do, they will still reward you well enough. There's many professions in the game and you can have all of them on one character. You have crafting professions, gathering professions, and maging professions, which is like enchanting the item except you simply improve statistics on the item. Each of them can somewhat benefit you in even getting kamas. But let's mainly focus right now on gathering professions since those are the easiest to level up. I totally want to encourage you to level up any of those. Not necessarily all of them. Definitely amazing ones are Hunter, Farmer, and Alchemist. Each of those can grant you food, and in case of Hunter you can collect it while also farming the mobs. The only thing you need for hunting profession is hunting weapon. In the early stage, you can get yourself a hunting knife with this stat. Wearing this will allow you to farm meat from the mobs depending on your profession level. The earlier you're gonna start leveling them up, the more they will benefit you in the future. As for the hunting weapon stat, you can also have it on any weapon you want. You can simply request from a smith magus to help you put an X rune into it. It sometimes can break your stats slightly, but shouldn't affect it too badly. As for the gathering professions, I also want to mention that there is a chance that player might enter a fight with a mob that if you defeat, it will give you a buck of resources. Fight with this mob is usually around the same level as the player is, so don't worry too much about the difficulty, just be careful about these fights because they are happening really suddenly. Oh yeah, there is also a shit ton of bots, already telling you that this is how it looks like when reporting them.
Duh.
Here is one silly trick that can mess around with them. Just for example, challenge them and until the request is up, they will not be doing any actions until it's cancelled. They are quite common in this game, and not just an aspect of gathering professions. Wanted monsters, also called bounties, are rare mobs that can mostly spawn in the specific area. You can check bestiary to check where each of them spawns. These mobs are quite harder than the regular ones. To obtain a bounty quest, go to the militia of a specific places that I hope I will mention while making this video. One is for sure an Ashrup militia. You need also a level in order to get it. Some of these bounties require a strategy to kill them, but it's mostly at the higher level. Whoever will participate in the fight with the wanted monster will be able to finish up quests. You all will pretty much receive the wanted monster behind your back, no matter of how many of you were in the fight. So you can pretty much invite like 7 more guildmates or friends, and all of you, as long as you and they have a quest, will be able to finish it and drag the bounty to the guard. Once you drag the wanted monster to the guard, you will receive doplons. Doplons can be exchanged in the class temples for the characteristic scrolls. You can use them for your own character or just sell them. Every character can maximize the characteristic using scrolls up to 100 points. I personally suggest that if you are unsure about your character, then don't use all of them. Not having scrolled characteristics will not be too lethal, but if you decide to boost specific characteristic, then I personally suggest you use 3k doplons to increase it just up to 50. This way you won't regret too much. Later on you can use the rest of the scrolls to maximize certain characteristic or just buy the rest of them from the market. Don't rush that basically. On this topic, I'll try to not be too detailed, but in short way, provide simple ways of getting kamas. Farming mobs itself does not benefit in getting kamas much after finishing the fight, although the resources you receive can mostly lead you to getting some. Don't store them, just put them in a market and get some proper amount out of it. Harvesting professions, achievements, characteristic scrolls were mentioned before, and those also can benefit you in kamas. Let's think of different options though. First and simple one is almanacs. This is basically a repeatable quest that requires you to bring specific resources and in rare cases also take some small actions while talking to the NPCs there. Almanacs will benefit you in free XP, kamas, and also the tokens that you can exchange later for specific resources. If you also do it for 365 days in total, you'll receive Almanacs Dofus that you can either use or sell in the future. You can do it on multiple characters as well, nobody stops you. Crashing is another method of getting kamas. This is how I personally made my first 2 million kamas. Here is few screenshots of my little gains I got when I was doing it. While crashing you can level up your crafting professions along the way. It's usually a little gambling mechanic, but most of the time you shouldn't lose too much on it. DefIX covered few videos on that topic and I might do it as well one day. Treasure hunting is the easiest possible way to get your free XP and the kamas. You don't even need the gear for it. You can be pure naked and it still won't matter. Now here's a video from Morani Dofus that covered this mechanic. To make it easier, you can use website that will help you find the clues. This website also works for the dimensional portal hunt, but we won't cover that in this video. Possibly the hunt should take you from 5 to 9 minutes each, and then give you a reward. Now don't worry if you receive small amount of roses from there. It's always random and you always have a chance to get a jackpot. If you also get lucky, you will get additional chests or even map pieces that will totally make your journey easier. Absolutely amazing feature. Collecting arc monsters at higher levels is also an option. You can use them in two ways. Either to collect them for your ochre quest in the future, which just like leveling harvesting professions in early game will save you a bunch of time, and also you can trade them. Or you can just sell them and get yourself decent amount of kamas. Careful, cause arc monsters are stronger than regular version of the mob. Way stronger. Also, you can just simply pull out your wallet.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money.
Yes, you can legally purchase kamas from the Dofus market. Just buy yourself origins and exchange them for kamas. People buy those for subscription or some other stuff. I call it wallet gameplay. To get a better loot rate and experience, you can enter an Anomaly tab and see which areas are worth grinding. The higher percentage, the better. This way you can find yourself a place to grind resources or to XP your character. Before I said that I recommend you doing most of the Dofus quests around the endgame, except of those that I mentioned before. The reason behind it is cause many things in Dofus isn't level appropriate. Examples can be dungeons. Now you can do pretty fine with most of the dungeons that are below 100 level, but above it you slowly will face more often more mechanical bosses that requires a specific strategy. So I want you to keep in mind that it can often happen in Dofus, and just be aware of that. You can always ask for help after all. Some people even sometimes pay for leeching dungeons or achievements, which I find kinda dumb. But whatever satisfies the player, right? Also, don't worry too much if your character won't seem to do enough damage. Often it takes a time before it becomes stronger. You can also use a sidekick as a partner. Now with the update 2.67, those really became handy. The only requirement is to be subscribed in order to use them. You can receive them by unlocking them in Quest tab in Inventory after you get a certain amount of achievement points, or buy them, for example, in Equipment Market. I would mostly recommend using them just for the dungeons and quest fights, cause if you would like to use them to level up, then you should gain less experience as far as I remember. I probably will verify if it still works like that while making the video. Probably you already have it on screen. You can always find a guild to ask somebody to help you, for example. Now keep in mind that it's better to just join the guild itself, and most of the alliances are oriented for like more PvP type of content, because you know, here's the thing, before it was like guilds and alliances both in one, but now it's pretty much two different things, so you can be in different guild and a different alliance. And the guild is more for like interaction with the players, just simply chatting, just farming, whatever. And alliances are more oriented usually around like PvP type of content. So like perk fights, King of the Hill. So usually it's just unnecessary to join the alliance unless there is like some alliance that is just simply oriented to just invite people to interact with them. And that's it. But mostly just join the guild and it's gonna be enough. Find their people and I wish you the best of luck. So I think that is that. Let's go to the last topic. Now here's some useful websites that will definitely help you a lot. One is Fandom Wikipedia that is in English, and another is Dofus pour les noobs. The second website is fully French, but you can use translator extension in order to translate it. I don't know why creators simply won't add option to change language, but oh well. Next website that might come handy is Defensive. Defensive is just a website that will describe you monster spells and even let you visualize how they cast them. DofusDB is a website that I personally use for two things. One is for treasure hunting that I mentioned before, and another is to search build inspirations. Now, build creator there shouldn't be fully trusted, Because, for example, items that in-game allow you to have max 11 AP can be worn on the website, even if in total you will have like 12 AP. So if you ever would search build suggestions there, then keep in mind that things are not working 100% well. But if we are already in build creators, then let me pull out few sites that people often use. Dofus Lab is definitely one of my favorites. Dofus Book is very commonly used, especially by French people, and there is also like a Dofus Room. You can practice crafting your own builds depending on what you need, and also share the ideas with the others. On any of those you can also check like estimated damage for each class. Nevalon from the future here, and I completely forgot to mention one more thing that Dofus Book has, and it's a feature called Skinator. So Skinator is pretty much where you can like customize your character before you like even customize it like in game. Like see what cosmetics will look good, you can like mess around with the colors, you can even copy paste those colors like to the game. So like let me show you. So for example, we have an angry rogue female that is pretty much mad because somebody forced her to be pretty much like a pirate that is like riding some cow looking like unicorn or whatever. I don't know what the fuck is that mix. And for example, we want to copy that angry skin color. So we basically copy paste that. There we go. I mean, we copied that first, yeah. So now while we customize the character, we can just hold shift and double click on this, or is it one click? Yeah, it's one click, whatever. And then just paste this number and boom, she's angry as fuck. And here it's not really a website, but it's a Discord server for the people that play on Talkasha, and it's called Talkasha Dimensions. So people here usually just post the portal locations, so that is pretty useful, right? Sometimes they just don't care. Sometimes people are just recently are like searching the portals and they are not even posting it. I don't know, like fuck you. And also they have like some Kralov updates. So there is like this one dungeon that for people that are doing Okr, like there is like pretty much when it's going to be open, when it's already open, like people are announcing that stuff as well. And yeah, some other shit, I don't know. Usually just people use it for the portals channels, like, yeah, that's pretty much it. And I think this is pretty much it. So now we get to the last part of this video that I'm also going right now to record. Okay, I completely forgot about one more amazing website for people that are collecting the Arc monsters and for those that are simply doing the Ochre quest. You can already see that there's like step 20, 21 and all up to 34. So these are basically where are the steps where you need the Arc monsters for the Ochre quest, and you can see already how much how far you're in a progress. Like I already removed some from the past because I was using it. You can see that you can like write that you have like 2 Arc monsters in your inventory or in your Haven Bug, Bank, whatever. And yeah, you can pretty much see the quantity of each, what you're basically missing, right? This way. Here you can see like collected, what you're missing, and also which one you can like exchange if you have like at least 2 Arc monsters of the same type, of the same mob, whatever. And then you can also like, there is another amazing part about it, not just that you can track how many Arc monsters you have without like needing to like, well, check in your, again, inventory, bank, whatever. You can just write it on this website, and then you can also exchange them. And the exchange is really amazing because once you're like logged in and you have like a profile, this is like first random profile from the website, you can see, for example, that which one you're missing, and if the player pretty much has this one, you can like, for example, exchange it, and then you can like write, oh, he actually gave it to me in exchange for like some Peewee one, and then I can like remove this one and done. It's pretty much works this way. Like pretty amazing feature. It really helps trading. So yeah, use it if you ever gonna gather up the Arc monsters and you're not selling them and you're just storing them. Then use this website, 100% useful. And if you're exchanging, then also you can just pretty much like link your profile to someone and you can see which one you need, which one the other person needs, and then you can discuss, oh, I will take this one and I will give you this one. Okay, so finally we're getting to the final part of the video. Now completely, I trust me, I believe that I didn't forget anything. I hope so. So here ends the main part of the video. Now, I hope you enjoyed it and you also found it useful. Most importantly, you found it useful. That's the whole point of it. I mean, I also tried to keep it like kind of goofy. I hope that I did pretty decent of a work. I hope. You guys let me know. I'm really curious what you guys think about it. And now is going to be a talk about like my experiences, my thoughts about like with the game, like some random talk overall. I wanted before, like, I mean, I think I said it later on that I wanted to like include it on separate video. It's all gonna be probably slightly messy, but it was like, you know, talking out of my mind without like a script as I did this entire video. And also I know that my microphone sometimes is like peaking or whatever. I'm gonna try to in future fix it. I really apologize for this inconvenience. But yeah, overall, I thank you also for watching in this part of the video. And if you want to, then go ahead, listen to me. But it might be kind of hard for some people. And yeah, I also want to invite you to my Discord server. There is like there's like not many people. It's pretty still fresh. I still want to try to grow it. To have like my little space basically, and also my Twitch stream. Those links are in the description. So yeah, now you can get to the part of listening to my talk, and hopefully it will give maybe somewhat like a perspective of me as like a new player that is playing the game 1.5 years. And you know, you guys can maybe see how I approach this and like get some sort of like a perspective. So yeah, thanks again, and I hope that it will not be too chaotic right now, okay? So let's get into it. So first of all, I'll be just talking like as if it was like a stream talk or whatever, and probably not do too many cuts. I'm gonna share my experience in Dofus, share my thoughts about like certain aspects of the game that I personally don't like, that are my thoughts about the game overall. You're gonna see what I mean. And also like say what this whole channel might be all about if I'm gonna continue making videos. For now I have a motivation, but you know, we will see. Anyway, one by one, okay? Step by step. So this might be quite of a long part, but I wanna try to say everything that is in my head. I also have like, don't have a script, you can already tell. I have only like few points written in my notepad where I just simply will look at to possibly not forget what to talk about, what I wanted to mention. So let's go to first thing that is pretty much my experience of how I started. So I started playing pretty much in March 2022. And it was pretty much because my PC was pretty crap, pretty much very huge crap. And I just simply thought about like Dofus as about the game that maybe shouldn't have like too heavy requirements, you know. I mean, after all, how much you expect from something that looks like the way it looks, to like how many resources from your PC it's gonna take, right? How many it's gonna consume. So that was like my first thought about the game, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna download it because I remembered it from childhood when I was playing it as like in 2007, 2010. I think few years back I also tried to play the Dofus, but for some reason I uninstalled it anyway. But yeah, then now I'm playing ever since the March 2022, as I said. So I pretty much downloaded it, and my first thought was like, what class to select? And I was like thinking about like my nostalgic classes. So one of them was Osamodas, and this was the class that I started with. Then what was my approach to the game? I wasn't like searching for the videos, really, to like get an idea of how to start. I was like trying to figure out things by myself first. That's how I usually do. And eventually if I would get lost or something, or if I would need some help, then eventually I would browse for some like videos, maybe forum posts and stuff. But at the time I didn't do it much. And then I decided like, okay, I was like thinking, how should I play the game, you know? Usually I would probably be like the type of player that would just farm the mobs, right? But eventually I decided, well, maybe Dofus wasn't entirely designed for this, and I was like, maybe questing is the way, you know? I mean, it was making to me like kind of logical sense at that time, you know? From like knowing how this game looks like it's being just turn-based MMO, and you know, maybe that was the way, okay? So I started questing in Incarnam, and to be honest, I didn't get too lost, except I didn't know about this one poster quest that is like on the wall of the inn, I guess, where you just need to kill the rat that is like in the basement or whatever. But eventually, like when I checked the achievements and I noticed that I'm missing this one, then I was like, you know, I just simply googled where do you get this quest, and I'm like, oh, You need to click on that poster in order to get it. Like, I wouldn't figure it out if I didn't check it, or if I... No, also, I didn't know about this. Didn't realize that these icons about the minimap, I also wasn't checking it this way. But yeah, I wouldn't figure it out probably anyway, personally. So I had to find it through the Wikipedia, but oh, it's fine, you know, sometimes it happens in the video games, and I was like, alright, I wasn't like repulsed at the time to the questing yet. So eventually I went to Airship, and I wanted to like quest there. And I was like, there are some parts that I don't remember the order of what was happening. One thing that I started doing was creating like a team. Then I realized that, well, barely I can handle 3 accounts on my previous PC that I had. And I think I was like running Osa, Sakrir, and Annie. I'm not really sure. But eventually, like later, I think I decided like, well, Osa is not a good class for me, and it's not really fun to play. It has its really issues, and I was like, well, maybe Kra is going to be pretty solid of a class. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go Kra. I wasn't sure about the other classes, so I just went with the Kra. Simple as that. And yeah, eventually questing was to me like in Airstrip, like already, this was like the first time that where I was like getting the bad signs of how to quest in Airstrip. I wasn't using like wiki or anything at the time, and also I was grabbing random quests that were simply on the map. When you have like those exclamation marks, I was simply going there, picking up the quest, and I was like, okay, where to go, what to do. And sometimes I would eventually get like completely lost. Like sometimes I would, you know, whenever I would quest in certain games, if it wouldn't be like, you know, if it would be like some sort of like a side quest that wouldn't be like a main quest line, then especially I wouldn't sometimes read dialogues. I would just skip them and just, you know, progress, like, you know, like pretty much try to progress, you know, like without giving much of a damn of what is written everywhere. I just want to get like XP, I want to get the camels, I just want to get rewards. That's all that matters, you know. That's kind of a player I was, and that's kind of a player I still would be, and, you know, I'm probably not the only one, right? So eventually I was like realizing that with amount of the quests that I picked up, in some cases I was getting lost, even though I was like pretty much reading sometimes of, well, the dialogues because of that experience. But eventually I was forced that, well, I needed to like Google things, and I was like, dude, if this is the way I have to play the game, I don't want to quest then in this game. And then I stopped. I think I continued then just simply farming mobs and, you know, just chilling. I eventually received some help at the time, also from like 2 guys in total that like gifted me some stuff, you know. Basically showed me like kind of a way, but in certain cases also they gave me the advices that I mentioned before as an examples, that like of what to not do, what to not listen to, really. Not that I want to really hard point out to these people, because one of them is probably gonna watch this video. In the end, it doesn't even matter, right? I think at some point I got like gifted kamas to even buy a subscription, and that was my first time to like when I was already like subscribed. And I think I started like already grinding mobs to like get my own kamas, so, you know, I don't need to like rely on the other people. Like, okay, it's nice of somebody that they gave me like some stuff, like it's nice, but I don't like taking people from people like too much, especially, or like asking for them. Like I want to be like more depending on myself. That's the whole point of playing video games after all, right? And not only that, that's for sure, but, you know, we're talking about the game right now. So as a Kra, I was like, you know, still think I didn't know exactly how to build myself, and the person that was helping me also wasn't the best person to like tell me how I should gear myself on the low level. Like I think he was like clueless completely of how to even like what to suggest to the new player. And not only him, like in future I met many people like that. I think I was struggling, like realizing that, well, my class seemed like not to do much of a damage, and I was like worrying, well, is it my gear, or could I improve something better? What I could do, but possibly to, you know. Because sometimes, for example, you would see that I, for example, casting Wrath, and I was like, you know, I didn't know exactly the spell details, but I was like, well, this guy is fucking doing incredible damage. And the reason behind it was just the Wrath, right? But I wasn't aware of that. I didn't know exactly the details, so I was like, well, so if he can do so much damage, why my Kra cannot do this? Like, it just didn't make sense to me that much. I mean, maybe sort of, but I mean, I was meant to be a damage dealer after all. except I'm range and he's melee, and you know, there should be like some advantages, disadvantages, but the difference in my eyes was really huge. So I was like that confused. But eventually time passed, I was like somehow leveling. I got even gifted some stuff for like around level 20, but I was like probably level 80 at the time on my Kra, and I was like, it's kind of, I was having troubles of where to exp my character, on what mobs, what to do, because I didn't want to already quest, and dungeons already like solo was hard, and I was like, wasn't really asking anyone to help me with the dungeons, even though I probably should have, but at the time, I guess even in game, I had my insecurities to even ask people due to various stuff. It's like my mentalist stuff, but which I'm not willing to talk about. It's a different story. If you're curious about it, you can join my Discord or whatever, my stream. It's a different, complete story. Yeah, I was like kind of confused of what to do and how to like pretty much like progress. And eventually I got suggested, that was like one of the suggestions that I again mentioned before. I got commas from the person to get leeched. And this is the first time I went to Slee Dungeon, when it was like a thing that people were leeching at the time, when with the Panda and Sakrir, but you know, that eventually got nerfed after a few months. So I got there, I got some levels, and I'm like, okay, what now? I mean, it's just, you know, I leveled up, but it doesn't really change much, except I have higher level, that's literally it. So eventually, I guess I kept grinding. I got some eventually more at some point I had my own kamas, and I then decided, well, I was like still kind of lost in the game. So I decided maybe I should get leeched again and maybe wear this gear, maybe it will help me. And I was like, okay, I did it. And guess what? Out of the kamas that I had, it wasn't enough. And it got me stuck to some point that I wasn't subscribed. I was like probably 110 level or something like that. And like I couldn't wear the stuff that I got gifted. I basically couldn't buy subscription. I got myself stuck to farming meat from the peewees, from the hunting professional, right? And that was really bad period for me at the time while playing Dofus. So that definitely wasn't a good experience. I eventually gathered up some kamas and I could subscribe it back. I don't remember actually what was after I subscribed, like was it good? I think it was fine because like, I mean, I somehow progressed, but I can't remember exact details. But yeah, I remember that I eventually at some point after like figuring out that, well, leeching is not the way, and you know, I tried to like just simply get kamas to get some gear and stuff. I think I started around the time possibly to start questing for the Emerald Dofus. At some point you need to get level 50 Shoemaker in order to continue questing, right? So I had to level up this profession, and basically this is when my first 2 million kamas came to my pocket, like by myself. I crashed some items and I was like, okay, getting like some slight from the runes that I was getting, I was actually benefiting most of the time. I mean, it was different times also before the merge happened, so right now it's kind of harder on certain servers, definitely on Talkasha. But at the time before the merge, when I was like playing on the Echo server before the merge, it was really good to like, it was really beneficial. And I pretty much kept spamming it for like 2 days, and I got really a lot of kamas, and I could gear myself up, and you can't imagine how happy I was, actually. I was like proud because I was actually able to continue progressing, you know, as a player. And this is like, I guess later on, I also got myself idols, which are not anymore in the game. I'm gonna show you guys what I mean by that, because some of you probably are not familiar right now with this. This is basically, these were the like resources that you could wear, and basically they were increasing you XP and the loot rate depending of the like which one you would combine. And I'm not gonna lie, mostly the best were for like melee characters. So like being ranged and playing range idols as solo especially, it was pain in the ass. That's what I'm gonna tell you. And I was eventually playing with like Yosh. For the people that knew, it was basically, that was the idol that was basically increasing the whenever you would hit from like the distance and not like in close combat, which is like, you know, pretty much standing next to the mob, you would pretty much increase its damage each time you would hit, and that was like stacking up eventually to certain point that had it like threshold and whatever. So I was playing with those, and I was trying like really hard as a Kra, like I could maybe play with those that were increasing melee damage, but you know, sometimes there were also mobs that were like dashing to me, and I was like, you know, instantly dying as a Kra. Yeah, these were really bad for the range classes, I would say. It's enough of the details, I don't want to get too deep into what they were all about. But basically, I was using those idols, and it was really a struggle for me as a solo player on a Kra, you know. That's why also in my video about like class selection, I'm saying like, you know, idols are not in the game, but it still applies to Kra, that it's pretty much depending on what you're playing with and what the map is, you know. So if the map is pretty much close combat, you pretty much, well, might have troubles in certain cases. If the mob will get to you, you might be also in trouble, you know. You can hide, you can push back, but, you know, sometimes it will not work. So that's why I said that Kra is amazing, but at the same time, you might want to reconsider this class. So we're getting slowly to the point where I was like simply grinding with the idols, and I think this is literally it from that kind of story. And later on, I think it was like just simply, you know, I got like level 190 on the Kra, or maybe it was already 200, I don't remember really. I remember that at some point I created also Iliotrop, and Iliotrop later I've also got to level 200, so I had eventually like 200 level Kra and 200 level Iliotrop, but I was like more into playing Iliotrop. But then I didn't have enough items to know, you know, play it, especially that I sometimes wanted simply to do 1v1s, 1v1 Colosseum. And, you know, I couldn't get up myself properly. I mean, I could play it, but at the same time, after like a break from Dofus, I class changed my Iliotrop to the Sacker that you can see right now. Here it is, hello. But recently also I class changed my Kra to the Iliotrop. So now, I mean, I'm playing these two. I mean, I enjoy these two, or both of these classes. It's not that I didn't enjoy Ilio, but I just simply wanted to play something more branded. That's where the Sacker came from. Okay, okay, I'm getting ready. Extending with this entire talk, you know, about like questing. I also wanted to talk about it because here's the thing. I said I'm pretty much a hater, but what am I doing here? It's pretty much the place for the black spotted, right? I mean, well, I did the black spotted questline. What can I tell you? I mean, it's somewhere here. It's still pretty much locked to. I can't trade it yet, so that's why I'm chilling next to Imagiro Rukam. As much as I'm really a hater of like the questing in this particular game, just because of how, you know, unclear it often is. And it's not about like even difficulty, because difficulty is completely different part. And I understand that sometimes in many games you need to sometimes use the Google in order to figure out what to actually do, where to, like, there are such games, okay? Dofus is not the only one, but in case of Dofus, it just happens so often that player eventually like can't really think of not using Wikipedia, you know? I'm the one that is like that right now. And here's my thought, like, okay, about the Dofus, I know that this is an old game, and sometimes I have a thought that maybe it's something with the code itself. I'm not really an expert about like game coding, whatever, but here are my thoughts, like my assumptions, okay? So basically, I knew also a story from like Paladin's game, which is pretty much like an Overwatch, except at that time it was free to play, while Overwatch was pay to play, and it's kind of like that kind of a game, basically. And why am I bringing it up? It's simply because Paladins had this issue that new people that were like coding the game, that were hired to code the game, were kind of lost in the code that was written by the previous devs, whatever, people, previous programmers, you name it. And maybe that's kind of similar issue with the Dofus, especially that this game has so many years. Sometimes I'm getting also maybe an expression that maybe Ankama doesn't want to really focus on Dofus anymore, and maybe that's why they are creating a Waven game. And I'm gonna in a moment tell you why I think this way. It's just, you know, I'm gonna tell you why I think this way, okay? But about like the questing, so basically I think it would be enough to like implement like that kind of a way where you, for example, go to the quest tab and you're, for example, searching for like specific quest, and next to the quest name, like if you had like also the location, if you could like click where to go, where's the NPC simply, where you can get the quest, or maybe like a question mark that would say, for example, which quest you need in order to, you know, unlock this particular quest, if you see what I mean, because in certain cases you have like prerequisites, I think I pronounced it well, which is pretty much which quests you need in order to like unlock specific quests, right? So yeah, if that was like at least implemented here to the achievement tab, I mean, I think it's just, you know, typing, like it shouldn't be like that difficult to code, in my opinion, if they simply could even create this little human saying, well, you can't, like, this quest has been validated by another of your characters on the servers. Like, you know, if they could do that, then why not also do it the same things with what I just said a moment ago, right? If you get my point. So that would be like one of the ideas, and that already could like clear some things out. And similar thing I was thinking about, well, if it was also about like the monsters, like if they, like, you can see the loot here, like it's described here, right? It pretty much, it doesn't seem like hard to implement it. I think so, at least. And yet, for example, why nobody did like, you know, bother, like, why nobody like put some effort to like type some spells that these mobs also cast? Like, it also could be handy. Like, I mean, if I knew about, if I had this stuff when idols were a thing, I mean, it definitely wouldn't make me suicide so often in order to understand what the mob is doing, you know? Because I didn't know about defensive at that time. Now you guys know about it. Now I know it. But, you know, it still could be in the game, you know? Just draw random icon and just name the spell, just describe it, just write some text. That's literally it. And I mean, those are like minor things that already I think would make a little difference for certain people, as for like new players, like returning players, you name it. But this is just my thought. Like, these are just my thoughts, okay? You guys basically now can like tell me what you think about what I just said. We can maybe like create some discussion with this video. Why not? And all right. So again, why I also was thinking that maybe Ankama doesn't want to be like associated anymore with Dofus as a game. So here's the thing. Ankama, like, look, Ankama has like at least 3 games. Let me actually check it. So yeah, Ankama has like 3 games that are pretty much turn-based MMO, and one is Dofus, obviously, another is Blackpool, and now they are making Waven, and each of those is pretty much the same theme, which, okay, is fine, but why they are pretty much the same genre? At least they seem to the same to me. I mean, they are maybe like somewhat different, okay, but at the same time they're kind of the same. And then there's also Dofus Retro, but I guess it doesn't matter. I mean, it's also Dofus, I guess, just more like old school Dofus version. So I guess I'm not gonna count this one. Like, look, think about like Riot Games and like the whole Runeterra world. Like, I understand, like, it's not that I have a problem that it's all like related with like World of 12, because again, League of Legends does the same. I mean, Riot Games, what I'm saying, they are pretty much doing same thing, except their games are pretty much various genres. Like TFT is something different, League of Legends is something different. Then they also have like some single player games that they released some time ago. They have also some card games. I think also Ankama had some card game, but I'm barely familiar with it. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm tripping. Yeah, like, why each game is pretty much the same Ankama? I don't understand this. I'm really curious. That's what makes me really question, because it makes me feel like as if they would want to create a new game that, well, maybe people will get attracted and they will forget completely about Dofus. Well, I'm not sure if it's gonna work like that. Like, maybe actually Ankama might be tired of this game. Maybe that's just my expression. Like, I don't have really proof of, like, I don't have like arguments to say that they might think this way, but this is just maybe kind of an expression I get as a player. But again, it's just my personal thoughts. So I think about this part, this is also it. My overall thoughts about Dofus. I would say that as a player, I kind of remained with the game because, well, it's still not a bad game. I mean, it still has pretty nice concept, except it just has some like those low things that I mentioned that just make me really wonder, is this game really worth recommending? I would say no, but at the same time, is it the game that you shouldn't play? I would also say it's not that type of a game, you know? I'm pretty much neutral about Dofus. I would say it's more about you as a player to like see if you like it. You know, I'm not willing to say that I would say that it's a good game, but at the same time, it has pretty good concept and it's pretty chill. Like, hey, I'm playing it. It's really an old game and I still remain in it. Like, I mean, I'm here. Basically, I'm playing it because I don't feel like I need to rush things here. Like, I can play solo, I can play with people. But yeah, I would say game overall, I mean, it's still worth playing. I mean, about even the questing part, I mean, as much as I say that I don't enjoy questing, it doesn't mean that I wouldn't like to quest. Those little aspects could be changed. Like, if the quest could be like a little bit more clear, if like, you know, as I said, if you could know where to grab certain quests, like an achievement tab, as I give an example of what they could do possibly, to, you know, make it easier, then maybe I would be into it. Like, I wouldn't mind. Like, for example, here, as I'm chilling here, I literally sometimes enjoyed reading certain dialogues of the black spotted questline, but at the same time, I was like in such a mental that I just wanted to have quickly done. Like, I wanted to be done with questing. I don't like questing overall in this game right now, but I wouldn't mind it to return to it if they would eventually get revamped and if they were a bit more healthy. Like, that's my approach. I'm not saying that they are bad. The fact that they are sometimes hard, I mean, okay, it makes sense. I'm not really bothered by it, you know? It's just all about finding solutions often, or just getting different gears, or like, you know, experience, whatever, you name it. Okay, so I think here is enough of me talking about how I view Dofus. I'm not sure if I could have said something more. So many of you that already been playing this game for a year and would suggest something to the people, like you guys have a perspective of the guy that started not so long ago, because 1.5 years ago, right? And it's one person, right? There's many others, but you already see how it looked like for me as a new player, completely new. Because I think sometimes people simply would give an advices based on the end game, only on a end game. Like, guys, that's like you guys, that's what I'm saying. Like, sometimes people forget you need to, some people start completely from zero. It's as if you would start on a completely new server. It's enough talk, I think. Okay, so now the final part is goal of this channel. So far there will be 2 videos that are basically my thoughts, my perspective, and my like advices about the game, right? But will I continue making Dofus content videos? For quite a while, I guess I will, and I don't know for how long. I simply want to do it for fun, you know? That's the whole point. And I just maybe want to help some new players, you know, just if somebody will ask me for an advice, I can already say like, hey, there's a video that I made. You can like check it out, even though it's gonna probably be 1 hour long as I'm looking at the timer. Oh goodness. But yeah, that's the whole point. It's just to share my thoughts this way, and eventually maybe to help somebody this way. That's it. I don't know for how long I will be doing it, because, you know, it always can happen that I might find a different game. Maybe something new will come out and I will completely forget that Dofus exists, although I think I will, for quite a while, play it even sometimes. It's a good game to just run in the background, even if it's sometimes like, I mean, restart it, and, you know, it's that kind of a game for me right now, okay? Like, I can simply keep it in background and even chat with the people, and that's pretty much it. So to wrap it up, how people will look at this channel mainly, because it also matters. It will all depend on you guys, and also on me, because on how I'm gonna present it. I was really trying my best with this video and with the other one. I did my best, basically. That's all I'm gonna say. And whether if you find it useful, if I'm really worth being listened to, like, you guys let me know what you think, what could be better. Share your thoughts. I'm down to discuss eventually. Yeah, I think this is where we can end this video. So for those that really remained till the end of it, I really, once more time, again, thank you for watching. Check out my Discord server, my Twitch channel, and hopefully I'm gonna do some more stuff, and hopefully you actually will enjoy it, okay? So this is how I'm gonna wrap it up. I think I said everything. If I didn't, well, fuck. Unlucky. So yeah, thank you for watching and listening to me, and take care.